Welcome everybody to Survive and Protect, and today I'm going to answer a self-defense question. And let me just take a look here and pick out a question to answer here in relation to self-defense, martial arts, combat, things of that sort. All right, and I'm going to answer this one here on top here. You guys can see that. Let me see if I can highlight it real quick. No, it won't let me highlight. Okay. It's in blue. The first question here, I'll read it out. And this question, let me click on it. Or can I click on it? It doesn't say who it's from. But the question is, how do I punch harder? All right. And I'm going to go ahead and answer that question real quick here. All right, let me go ahead and just highlight this real quick so they'll know that they can check out this show here for the answers. All right. So the question is, how do I punch harder? All right. It's asking me to click on some credentials there. Let me hit the save button. Hopefully that is good enough for that. All right. So how do I punch harder? Well, my answer would be is to put more of your body weight into your punches. And so what do I mean by that? Some people naturally, whether big or small, have natural what some people call heavy-handedness. So even if they just kind of say, hey, what's going on? You really feel that weight of their hand. They didn't have to put too much of anything and umph in it. So you have some people who have some natural heaviness in their hands. And so if they go on to strike somebody, they're going to have some, just by their natural movements, they can just do the regular turning or however they have to do to hit a person. They're going to have some weight to their punch. All right. But a way to make your punches even harder, and I don't know what you mean by hard because you're not being specific. So I'm going to kind of look at it in two ways. Hard in the sense of you want the body part, like your punch, your fist to be hard and strong when it hits a person, how to toughen your hands. That's one way of looking at it. Or when you want to hit somebody as hard as you can, that's the other way of looking at it. So one way, if you want to toughen up your hands, one thing I used to do, and I don't know if there are some negative effects down the line as you get older, if you end up with bad arthritis or anything like that. But what I used to do, and I do once in a while, is I'll find a brick wall or something concrete, a concrete curb, or a lot of those lights and lampposts have the steel or metal is part of the light, but then on the base of it has concrete surrounding it. Either that or a brick wall, and I just start with an open hand. I'll just kind of start striking it with a little pressure, a little force. Then I'll take like a hammer fist and I'll start hammer fisting the concrete or the brick wall. And then I will also punch it, but I won't punch it super, super hard. I just punch it enough to feel some pressure when you hit it, where you can obviously tell, like, yeah, I can feel it a little bit, but not to the point where you want to break your hands. All right, not to that point. And I would just do that real mildly. I would do the hammer fist harder because you can hit much harder with your hammer fist strike, and you can hit harder with your palm. So I wouldn't even, which is probably another question and the answers altogether, but I wouldn't even throw punches, to be honest with you. I would use open hands unless you know what you're really doing. I would use more or less open-handed strikes, palms. You can hit brick walls as hard as you can, just about, with palm strikes, as well as your hammer fist. All right, and elbows strikes are hard too. I'm getting off a little bit from your question, but I'll focus back in on it. But elbow strikes, you can hit a brick wall to a certain degree, but I wouldn't do it with this because that's more or less bone. And yeah, like I said, your hammer fist has some meat here, and the same thing with your palm strikes has certain surfaces where you can really strike a person hard, a brick wall hard. And so that's my basic answer to that as far as toughening up the fist to punch. Now, the other part of that question, like I said, because I don't know how you're asking it or what do you mean in what way. Now, if you just want to hit a person as hard as you can, the best way to do that is to learn how to throw your weight into the punch. All right. You want to learn how to throw your weight into the punch. And basically, it's going to require you to do some forward moving. So, for example, if I stand in place, and of course, you can generate power from your hips, legs, and shoulders. All right. When you see boxers punch, they're turning most of the time. I think I'm going to throw a right hook. You're going to see, when you see me throw a right hook, you're going to most likely see my shoulders turn towards my left, my right side. Everything on my right side is going to go to the left. All right. Because I'm torquing my body. So you can generate a lot of power and punch hard that way. Now, to add some extra to that, to make it even harder, you would do the same motions of torquing your body, but then you want to move forward at the same time. So for now, I'm just sitting in the chair. Maybe next time, if I do some other future videos, I'll be able to show standing up. But just sitting in the chair talking to you, hopefully you'll be able to get the gist of what I'm saying. So I'm going to demonstrate it and try to make it as animated for you guys to see as possible. So for instance, if I'm just going to punch, just torquing my body, which just means just turning my body like this, punching, you can generate a lot of power doing that. All right, torquing it, boom. Now I'm going to torque and move at the same time. So I'm going to move into the punch, okay? So I'm also taking a step in, and from the step, me taking the step, because that's I'm using my whole body weight to move into the person, and then at the same time torquing my body, you're going to generate even more power from that, and a more powerful punch. All right. Also, I would say, lastly, is that, which I would have to do a demonstration, but the best way I can explain it is every time you strike a person, and I'll probably show it with my hands, make sure that you always aim for the center. All right. Now, what I mean by that, for instance, I'll give you two examples. One, I'll verbally give you a visual, and then I'll try to use my hand and show you. So, if you punch a punching bag, sometimes when people punch, including myself, sometimes you punch a punching bag, you're grazing the bag, and all the bag does is start spinning real fast. Well, that's because you're not really centering your strike into the bag to where when you punch the bag, it kind of bends in a little bit, curves in. Because instead of doing that, you're punching it, and whatever strike you're using, elbows or whatever, you're hitting it, and the bag just starts spinning. That means you didn't get a direct contact with it. You contacted it to the point where you made it spin, but you didn't use all your power, or you used a lot of power as well, but your power just grazed it and made the punching bag just spin, as opposed to when you hit it, it's that part of where you struck at will cave in, right? And you can move, and you'll actually move the bag too. At the same time, you can see the little dent that you made into the bag. That's what I mean by always trying to strike. It doesn't matter what part of the body you hit. It could be the smallest part on a person's body. You always want to aim, like center your punches on whatever part of that body. So now using my hand, again, like I said, just using my fingers, I can strike it like this, but then it grazes, right? But at the same time, I could strike and always hit center. No matter where a person is turning or bent, you always strike to hit the center of it. All right, if that makes any sense. Okay, so let me see. I'm using let's say the side of my head, right? Now, a person can punch, right? But then it ends up grazing, right? See that? It ends up grazing off. But instead of punching and then your way you're punching and you punch into the in a way that makes you graze the person as opposed to hitting dead center. All right. If you use an open hand, you're hitting dead center as opposed to just grazing off my head or grazing off this way, hitting the person in the chin, but you just grazing it. So it doesn't make the person's head snap back as much because you're grazing it. So you always gotta always aim for the center. Center your strikes might be a better way of saying it. So I'm gonna use my hand towards the camera if I'm gonna start striking, but then I end up grazing off you as opposed to striking center. All right. So that's my response to how to punch harder. All right. So with that being said, survive and protect. I'm out. Peace.